Chicago, July 20th, 2018. The Pitchfork Music Festival is set to kick off once again. All your favorite members of your favorite internet podcast are there, hanging out. Nobody's wearing sleeves. Everyone's having a good time. Everyone's got questionable facial hair. When they see it, in the beer tent, horribly overpriced at $9, 16 ounces of pure Canadian freedom. That's right, folks. It's the hops that heaven built. The Japandroids Goose Island collaboration that we will be slamming at the Pitchfork Music Festival this year. Yeah. On my beer brewing blog side project, I gave it a 7.1, no best new music, and said it tastes like all of those questionable text messages that you sent the girl you were crushing on freshman year at 3 a.m. It tastes like a cavalcade of flannel shirts that you probably should have thrown out by now because they don't fit you anymore. Just get rid of them. I don't care if you have good memories attached to them. They just need to go.
Again, it just tastes like the text, saw you at the show, thought you looked cute.
What they actually do is they take Canadian teens who are really trying to get out of their hometown that's cramping their style, and they have them drink half a beer at their hometown bar, at which they flirt with the hometown bar waitress, and they take some of that beer and then they rebrew it into the Japandroids beer.
It tastes like the Bruce Springsteen beer and the Black Flag beer were just poured into a bucket and mixed together for a while and then kind of poured out and distilled. And you can still definitely taste the influence of both of them, but it's also its own thing, and it's still really, really good.
The Japandroids beer tastes like the opening scene of Han Solo that was basically born to run in space.
Yes, hell yes.
Folks, let me just tell you, it's gonna we have to bless Pitchfork Music Festival for this content that they are bestowing upon us. All right,
we will have a taste test video of us trying these sweet brews.
All right. Here's the thing. I am going to tweet a picture of every single one that I drink, which will accomplish two things. Number one, proving that I am the most dedicated Japandroids fan on the planet, and proving number two that I probably suffer from alcoholism.
two things which are definitely linked.
It's not wrong.
We also need to note that this is the first Pitchfork Music Festival that I will go to where I am now a legal adult that can drink alcohol at the festival.
This man will be
podcast grows up.
This is the most important. This is the most crucial detail of this saga that Pitchfork Music Festival has bestowed upon us, and the Japandroids and Goose Island, and I will drink the hops that heaven built, and I will love it. It'll be the first beer that I can go, this is a good beer. I can die peacefully because the Japandroids have done it once again.
The Japandroids, my friends. Goose Island, my friends. Pitchfork Media Company, still cowards, but they're on my good page for this one.
Love this one.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Indieheads podcast. I am your host, Matty, at Monrovian Prince on Twitter. On this week's podcast, we have
AJ Moser, at and Moser on Twitter.com.
Jackson at horse_jeans on Twitter.com. A bad place. You shouldn't go there.
Yes. And as we were discussing the Pitchfork Music Festival, I just want to very, very... let's touch on this because the set times were released today. And there's some nightmare conflictions for some of y'all. Some not for me. But we need to discuss things that are going to happen at the Pitchfork Music Festival this year. Number one, the Japandroids beer. Like, that is like... Pitchfork, they must be listening to this podcast because they would not do this otherwise. All right,
they listen to the podcast. They tapped into AJ's brain.
Yeah,
they went into his dreams and revealed.
After years of me calling them cowards in public forums, they decided to just finally kill me, and they figured that the easiest way to do it would have me drink myself into an early grave by making a Japandroids beer.
Boom, exactly. And number two, I am now realizing, oh my god, Jackson, he's going to be such a thought coming to Pitchfork Fest. I don't know why. Of all the members to be a thought coming to Pitchfork this year, Jackson is my number one. Because, you know, Jiro's a thought, but he's tied down right now. So you can't fully thought it up, but Jackson...
Jeremiah is a philosophical thought.
Exactly.
I can neither confirm nor deny these allegations.
We will find out in a month at the Pitchfork Music Festival, which, by the way, genuinely, really excited for. I'm very excited to see all my friends and all this. It's going to be fun. We're going to fucking ball out in the pit to Japandroids. We're going to cry in the pit. We're going to open up a pit during Boyish by Japanese Breakfast. And also, it's going to be fun. I'm very excited. But we'll probably discuss it a bit more as we come closer, and obviously...
Yes.
We got to do the yearly podcast, and we will have actually probably something special planned for that podcast. And
we got lots of content coming, folks. All kinds of stuff.
One might say infinite content.
It rhymes with Tive-Leem. Maybe. We'll find out. Anyways, hey, let's do some single alert. We only have 2 singles to discuss. We were going to discuss 3, and then we're like, well, the album comes out like in a week or 2, so fuck that. But we have 2 singles to discuss. The first one being the new Dirty Projectors single, That's a Lifestyle. We did not discuss the first one they put out for this new album, which I cannot remember the name of, but it is terrible. And this new one is also terrible. And Dave Longstreth, for real though, dude, like, retire. Just like straight up retire. It just doesn't, like, just get right into it. I don't think Dave Longstreth understands why people like Dirty Projectors. Like, I just don't think he understands that people like that.
Nope.
They like the band because of Amber and Angel, or really just Amber, because Angel was only on for like 2 albums and then she was off. Because I actually like Sling Will Miguel a lot. But it's like, he just doesn't understand that, like, the reason that people like Dirty Projectors was because of the female vocals. They added a lot to the music, and, like, not having them on any of these new songs is, like, it feels like he's trying so hard to fill that empty space, and he's failing massively. Like, for real, dude. Just again, go solo. Like, just be Dave Longstreth. You don't have to do this Dirty Projector shit. I understand you started the band, but guess what? The band ain't known for you that much anymore, bro. It's time to, it's time to move on.
But would Dave Longstreth's solo material be
No,
better?
it was.
I feel like
it'd
it would be more indulgent Dave Longstreth bullshit.
Oh, it'd be terrible. I mean, here's the thing. It would still be terrible, but at least there's not that, like, attachment to, like, a good band. It's just like, oh, Dave Longstreth, he's just doing a solo thing. It's not so good. Whatever,
Yeah.
So, That's a Lifestyle. More like, that's a bad song.
My full review of this song is Lifestyle by Rich Gang, greater than sign. That's a Lifestyle by Dirty Projectors. That's my opinion on this song.
Yeah, not much else to say unless AJ has thoughts before we just let AJ wild out about the next song.
It's just appalling, like, how much Dave Longstreth is trying to, like, destroy any shred of integrity that he had with just, like, terrible, uninspired songwriting that just, like, borrows the worst ideas from, like, glitch pop and electro pop with, like, just these terribly distorted vocals that, like, grind at the wrong moments and just, like, do these terrible things where the song sounds like it's you're repeating. Both of these singles are abhorrent, and I can't believe that we already have to suffer through another, like, new Dirty Projectors album so close to the last one. But, like, the thing about this second single when I was listening to it is it sounds like something off of, like, the Greatest Showman soundtrack, which is another thing I'm shocked to learn that people think is good. But, like,
oh my god.
It's this terribly, like, bland, anemic, like, everything is great pop anthem that just has no backbone and no integrity. Like, at least the other album just had these terribly shitty, cloying, stalkerish lyrics on it, whereas this one is just, like, this sugar-coated nonsense that I think, like, is gonna be gunning for one of the worst albums of the year by far. And also, if you have the misfortune, Dirty Projectors, again, worth repeating, one of the worst live performances I've ever seen at Pitchfork last year. If they come anywhere, yeah, just avoid it at all costs because it will not be good. It's just, if you want to see a sad man in a bad suit with a bad beard sitting in the middle of a stage just acting glum, go right ahead.
It's bad, folks. It's bad. But AJ.
Okay.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel to the single alert.
Yep.
It is a bright light. It is a bright yellow light.
That's right. I was saying that this is a lot like the John Cena bit where it's how you bought how many suits, but it's me, and it's you listen to this song how many times in a row? The answer is 55. And the song is, of course, the new single from black metal band Deafheaven called Canary Yellow, which is the second single off of their upcoming album that has, oh god, it has a name. It's like Corruption, Ordinary Human Power, Love. It's not a great title or a great album cover, but what is great are, holy shit, these songs, particularly Canary Yellow, where Honeycomb played off of their established formula really well. Like, it sounds like it easily fit on Sunbather or New Bermuda. Canary Yellow is the thing that, like, the New Bermuda singles did to Sunbather and then do again here, where it's like, that is unmistakably Deafheaven, and they are, like, at the height of their powers, but they also pepper in all of these new ideas, whereas you just go, I have no idea how this album could top what they put out, like, in the past, but it sounds like they're about to do it. So Canary Yellow opens with, like, 4 minutes of just, like, the heavy Deafheaven guitars that you come to love, and then you get those roaring vocals in, where when you read the lyrics, you're like, there's absolutely no way he's saying any of this. It just sounds like guttural screaming, but then you convince yourself that you can kind of hear it. Then, at, like, 8 minutes in, there's this insane guitar solo that is just peak Deafheaven, but the most interesting part of the track by far is, like, the closing section where you get these, like, chanting vocals, the clearest vocals that have ever been in a Deafheaven track, and I think it's the backing members of the band, because you also have the lead singer, like, coming back in with that gruff scream that you know and love, but just, like, the journey that this track takes over these 12 solitary minutes is just, like, immeasurably impressive, and Deafheaven are, like, I think this is the same thing that happened to me with, like, the War on Drugs album last year, where it's like, okay, we can no longer, like, keep this band out of the conversation of just, like, most consistent, most impressive rock band working today, because they managed to, like, make all of these songs that sound so similar, but every single one sounds like the best song of all time. Like, this Deafheaven album, I think, is going to be tremendously impressive. I have a feeling it's going to end up very high on my albums of the year list, and I think they're a tremendous live band, relating this back to Dirty Projectors, and just, like, I cannot wait to see all of the new ideas they bring forward on here. There are guitars that sound like fucking, like, anime openings on this track, like, where...
Oh my god.
It's like straight up...
Honeycomb, too.
Yeah,
Honeycomb is like that, too.
The moment where, like, the protagonist is, like, beaten down, but then, like, powers up, like, 6 levels all at once, and they literally have, like, flames glowing around them, and they shoot up out of the ground and, like, punch the shit out of something floating in the sky. That's literally how these Deafheaven songs make me feel, and I could not be any more excited for this album, which comes out on July 13th. Give it to me. Give me the metal.
AJ, you want to see me turn into a Super Saiyan?
Hell yeah.
My review of this, my review of this single, this one and Honeycomb were both like this for me. I was like, I'm not really a big metal guy, and then I listened to this and I'm like, oh, word?
Yeah, like I listen to Deafheaven and I'm like, I'm throwing out everything I own that isn't black. Like, that's what this band does to me.
It's unbelievable the stuff that they can, like, do as a band. It's truly wild. I'm so excited for this album. I think it's going to be incredible.
And the, like, another thing about Canary Yellow too is Deafheaven has, like, a bad reputation amongst the metal community for being, like, too indie and too shoegaze and just this, like, commercialized bullshit metal that, like, it's really just pretentious gatekeeping nonsense that you shouldn't listen to, but, like, true metalheads are really against Deafheaven. But I think it's tremendous that the influence that you can clearly hear for the shoegaze genre in here, like bands like Slowdive and even a little bit of, like, modern beach house and stuff. I was talking to a friend of the podcast, Will for Thrill, earlier today, and I was asking him, like, how are Deafheaven just the most consistent and impressive band in the metal genre? And he says it's because they actually listen to music that's good and isn't just metal. And I had to sit back and think, like, you know what, that's actually a pretty insightful point. You can very clearly hear it. That they branch out of those hardcore things and find a way to rope those ideas into the genre. And just Deafheaven, they're good boys. That's all I have to say about that.
This is all absolutely correct.
Well, is that there? It is, folks. There it is.
Single alert, baby. Some bad songs, some good songs. You never know what you're gonna get.
When I say I want a goth GF, this is what I mean, and then you just point to the Deafheaven album cover.
Okay, literally,
or just Deafheaven the band in general.
No, specifically the old lady on the album cover.
Exactly. Anyways, fuck. All right, that's about it for news and single word and all that shit. We're gonna get right into the meat of this podcast. We're gonna dig into the meat. All right, we're not gonna dive right into the meat, but we're getting in there pretty well. All right. And we're gonna do a little. Okay, this is a horrible analogy. I'm just gonna explain what we're doing. We're doing a little May-June catch-up. There's some albums that we did not get a chance to talk about on the past couple of podcasts that I want to talk about. Some that we'll get really in depth to towards the end of this podcast. But there's some that we want to do some quick touchdowns on, give some quick thoughts, wreck some stuff, say, avoid this stuff. But I think most of this is just like, hey, these are albums that we really like. And I will start off with this one with 3 albums. The first of which is the new Parquet Courts album, Wide Awake. This is a very good album. Parquet Courts are a very good band filled with very good people. And yes, I very much enjoy this album. It's not as good as Human Performance, I will say off the bat. But I do think, because it's a different album, where I think this one is sort of them going back to more of their punk roots a little bit. As that boy Andrew Savage, alright? Like, there's literally a line on this album where he says, Savage is my last name because Savage is how I feel. And like, that shit's kind of badass. Like, if a rapper with the last name Savage said that, we would immortalize that guy forever, you know. And it's not different for this one. As Andrew Savage, he plays pretty much the majority songwriter on this album. He has most of the tracks, and Austin Brown, who usually is sort of they have nice like split contributions. He sort of takes more of a backseat. And his songs, the album, are a bit more kind of, they're more experimental in a way. And some of the experiments work very well. And there's some that are duds, like Back to Earth. I think is kind of a dud, but a lot of the Andrew Savage tracks are really well done. The songwriting and the band chemistry is incredible. Danger Mouse, as far as we know, has not touched his dirty hands on them. He's kind of like, hey, Parquet Courts, I love y'all. Y'all do your thing. I'm just here to help. And that's produced a very good album. And go see them live if you get the chance. They are very good, fun boys live. And Andrew Savage is low-key thick, but that's for another podcast. But yeah, I like this album a lot. Definitely would check it out. Guess unless anyone else has any thoughts, I will continue on with my ranting and raving.
I think it's not as good as their past stuff, but there are still good songs on it, and like they are one of those bands that just do what they do and they do it very well, and like when I'm in the mood to listen to them, I can't deny how good it is. The first couple songs are really good, but I do think that the album like doesn't just kind of hold up over the course of a listen.
I will agree. It's definitely, it's not the strongest whole way listen, but there's some really just like great tracks on here.
Like Human Performance had a really interesting concept that tied the whole thing together. Sunbathing Animal is just like some dirty shit, and then I think like the really kind of ramble rock kind of stuff on like Light Up Gold is where I like Parquet Courts the most.
I would somewhat agree. I think like I said, I think Human Performance is like my favorite from them, like as a whole full album. But songs like Master of My Craft and Stoned and Starving are just like those are the best songs they've put out, just straight up, you know. But yeah. Also, the first song on this album ends with the line "and fuck Tom Brady." Like, yeah, that's a big mood right there. You can't deny this album. So yeah, I will move on then. Next I want to talk about is this new Melodies Echo Chamber album, Bon Voyage. I will say this: this album is already top 5 for me, but I cannot put into words why it is a top 5 album so far for me this year.
It's because he likes it.
It's because I like it. Well, obviously. But I can't find anything substantial because it's just like, I don't know what this album does, but it's just this weird psychedelic journey that takes a lot of like odd twists and turns, and it really works really well. It's also Melody. How do you pronounce your last name? Melody Percochet? I don't know.
Percocet.
Yeah, Melody Percocet.
Jesus Christ. But she's again, this album takes a lot of weird twists and turns, and I really, really dig the hell out of it. It's just got some serious grooves, some serious psych jams, and it's also one of the few cases where like a rock song will throw in like more computerized, like sort of trap style drums, and it actually works in the song's favor. Where it doesn't work, is like someone like Imagine Dragons, but yuck. Don't even. We probably have this. I mean, we didn't even discuss Imagine Dragons on the last podcast that much, and still I feel disgusted and I hate myself for already mentioning them in the same breath as Melody's Echo Chamber. But this album is really fucking good. I cannot recommend it enough. It's all over the place in like the best way possible, and also it's kind of funny how this album does like that whole. has kind of done the Kanye West 7-track thing, like better by coincidence, but we will get into that a bit later on in the podcast.
Well, that's also because it's 30 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes.
And like I said, we will get into it as we progress through this podcast. Jackson,
Kanye actually stole his idea of 7-track albums from Godspeed You Black Emperor. He's just totally ripping off their whole thing.
Okay, I'm gonna do
short.
All right, I'm gonna put a timestamp on this podcast real quick because I'm gonna say something really bad, and I'll probably cut it out when I'm editing this. But I made fun of.
Don't then.
Don't. Okay, I won't. Sorry, I already said it in the chat, so I will not say it. But yeah, this album is really fucking good. I'm just gonna shut up now. And also briefly discuss this new Serpent with Feet album, Soil. This is some good ass shit, dude. Like, this is some good ass shit. This dude has a voice of an angel, and he's singing about some real shit on this album. All right, and it's good, and I like it. If you like Bjork, if you like Arca, Kalela, anything like sort of modern R&B that sort of popped up in recent years, like if you like Frank Ocean, you're probably gonna like this album a lot. Definitely check it out. Highly recommend it. And yeah, it's nice and orchestral and sad and beautiful. And that's all I gotta say about the albums that I want to talk about. And we're gonna kick it to AJ, as he's got some list of albums that he wants to touch down on real quick.
Yeah, we're going on that little emo gauntlet here. Surprise, surprise. We're going to kick it off with the most recent release, which is the Ness Lake album called Kicking. Ness Lake is the kind of spin-off solo project from the bands behind one of my favorite records of last year. Swordfish put out a fantastic EP called Rhodia, which was, as I described on this very podcast, just my exact brand of emo shit. And that continues here, though it is a little kind of more focused and less sporadic, whereas that one definitely sounded like it was trying to do math rock, American football type stuff all across the board. This one is a lot slower. Every single song has this big build to it, but it gets these really anthemic choruses. If you're like me and you can't live without horns in your rock music, you should absolutely check this one out. It is some peak. It's the kind of music that makes me wish I still had a car, because it's some peak, like driving around and just like belt out these lyrics while you're pulling through the Midwest type of stuff. So Ness Lake, Kicking, you should check that one out. With a little more energy, a recent release from Retirement Party was Somewhat Literate. This is really rockin', kind of like punk pop. Not punk pop, but it's got that like really edgy attitude to it, and some really, really sharp songwriting in the vein of like a Courtney Barnett, or even some like Teens of Denial type car seat headrest stuff. The lead single, Passion Fruit Tea, is really, really great, so you should check that out. And if you're into it, like, the album is basically just 11 versions of that song, but it's all really, really good stuff. A fantastic band. Good Looking Friends released an album called Settle in Decay, which is a bit on the heavier side of the emo type stuff. It's got, again, some really long builds, some really great, like, just cathartic releases on parts of it, and also some like faster stuff with some really hard-hitting guitars. It's a really interesting album that, like, they are one of those bands that orbits the emo space. They're not necessarily capital emo. They're a little harder rock than that, but they definitely have those tendencies that you'll dig into if you're a big emo head like me. And then finally, an older one that I believe got hit with the blessed score from Ian Cohen on Pitchfork.com, but it's Dog Bless by Gulfer with a U. This is going to fill that math rock hole if you're looking for stuff like that. So if you're into like Cap'n Jazz, American football, this is the one to check out. Again, really funny lyrics and really energetic performances. Like, the whole band is just super tight. They did like a live set on Audio Tree or something like that really recently, and I would recommend checking that out too if the album doesn't immediately sell you. But it's fantastic. Secret Stuff, the intro track, is one of my favorite songs of the year so far, and that is 4 good emo albums you should be checking out this year.
Hell yeah! All right, I'm gonna do 3 albums, and I got a little mix of different stuff going on here. I got some good music. This one, first one, is an album called this is for my true bleep heads out there, for my real bleep heads. This is an album compro by a producer called Skee Mask, and Skee Mask is someone who I've heard before, but I think I have a song from him on my laptop, and I remembered it being kind of more industrial techno, kind of very Berlin stuff. But this album is a sort of shift in direction for him, and this entire dive into an album entirely of ambient techno and ambient breakbeat stuff. and he's got these really, really, really unique like ambient soundscapes that are then filled up with these like churning, chunk knocking beats that kind of like seem like they would kind of clash with these ambient soundscapes that are very like, I mean, the album cover is like this dude walking through like a snowstorm, and it's just like entirely almost you can't see anything except for the vague outline of someone walking through snow. So like the ambient like nature of this album that is going for is this very kind of cold, arctic, mysterious feel. And I think that it's really cool if you're into any sort of ambient techno, and the breakbeat stuff on it really gives it more kind of energy and direction as opposed to some ambient stuff that's a little too meandering. So I really like this album. It's good if you're a bleep head. Check it out, definitely. The next album is by a pair of producers who used to make electronic music, and now they kind of make pop music, and they're called DJDS, and they are the sweetest of boys. I have been aware of their music for a very long time. I would say since like 2015, 2016, probably around there was when I was like starting to get into them seriously, and they make a lot of house music that is very influenced by gospel and by Chicago and a lot of things, a gospel influence that led them to end up being collaborators on the last Kanye album. And so now, a year after working on Life of Pablo, they have kind of transitioned into making music that is inspired by their musical roots, that it contains elements of house music and containing elements of soul and R&B and dance hall at times and things like that. It's got all these different things going on, but it's these songs that have all these features on it, and it's like a producer curated album, but it works really, really well for how big of a shift it is from their last stuff. And I think while it is not like a perfect album, I really think that they clearly like have a unique set of like influence and skills. And I think the thing that they're really good at that is similarly a thing that Kanye is very good at, and kind of how I see why I saw them making so much sense together, is they both know what to do with vocals really. They have a great sense of how to manipulate a sample, manipulate a lead vocal, how to use a featured artist voice in a song, and how to understand the human voice as like a key part of any music you're making. And they do that really well across this album. There are lots of great features from The Dream, Casey Hill, Amber Mark, who's really great. Kevin Drew from Broken Social Scene has a song on here that's great. The singer from the band Wet has some features on here. There's all kinds of shit going on, and it's all very good. So I highly recommend the DJDS album. It's called Big Wave More Fire is the name of the album. Also, I went to the album release party. I met them. They're really nice boys. So go support nice boys doing good music. Speaking of nice boys, Rolling Blackouts Coastal Fever, Australian rock band. There's like 4 of them that all play guitar in the same band because they like lots of guitars in their music. They're those guitar rock boys, and their sound, I don't know if we've ever talked about them in the podcast, but they've described their sound as like tough pop or soft punk. It like exists right in this little like niche spot in between where it has like kind of the drive and the forward momentum of like something more punky, but it has a real kind of soft pop oriented, indie rock oriented sheen. And these guys just make some real good guitar music. This album is not like a real elevation of their sound in a way that's like really worth like, oh my god, this is one of the best albums of the year, this is amazing. It's not quite the step up I was maybe hoping they would take in just 1 year from their really great EP last year that I loved, but it is as good as their EP last year, if not better, and it is over the length of a full album now, which is just it's not the leap up, but it is a great album. I think they're really good live. I saw them at Coachella Music Festival just about a month and a half ago, so highly recommend this album. It's called Hope Downs. Talking Straight, the second single off the album, is so fucking good. It's one of my favorite indie rock songs of the year. It is ridiculously catchy, and I think these dudes definitely have a unique lane, and if they can learn how to kind of like elevate their music to the next level where it's really kind of doing like groundbreaking type, they might just be a band that releases like solid 7 records for years and years and years, but like I really, really love these records, and I love putting them on. And I was listening to it while driving for a long time yesterday, and that was perfect for this album. It's really great. Just sunny day, California highway, going down the 5, fucking blasting this stuff. So I highly recommend the Rolling Blackouts Coastal Fever album, Hope Downs, if you like indie rock, which you should if you're listening to this podcast.
Yes.
And those are out.
We
got more out.
That is the quick touchdown segment of the May-June catch-up. But we're getting into the real meat. We're getting into the real. All right, we are totally back on our bullshit, folks.
This
is why you come.
Mignon, the big cut.
As
tomahawk steak.
As was it Rihanna once said, this is what you came for.
Well, actually, that was Taylor Swift who wrote that song. So.
Oh really?
Actually, the whole debacle was weird because it was credited under some random Swedish name, and it turns out it was actually Taylor Swift.
The plot thickens.
But anyways, hey, this is not the Pop Heads podcast. We already did the last episode. This is the Indieheads podcast, and it's time to discuss some indie rock. And we gotta discuss who Pitchfork is calling the future of indie rock. That's right. It's me. I am the future of indie rock. I have a new band.
Surprise!
No, but actually, let's talk about this new Snail Mail album, Lush. It just came out about a week or two ago, and so Jackson. Actually, I will let Jackson begin this one.
The thing is that the last 3 episodes have involved a 10-minute long single, which you could also title "Matty and Jackson Bust" about whatever the new Snail Mail single was. Because this has been real astronomically high hype levels for. And one of the things that's kind of annoyed me is I think we all are putting way too much pressure on a girl who is 18. They're like, you are the future of indie rock. You are emotionally wise and beyond your years, and you have to fix indie rock. And it's just let her be really good at making songs. Can we just do that? Because this album just kicks ass, and I kind of just want her to go tour this album and talk about this album because it's just great. Yes, she is the future of indie rock, but because she can. It's not because her music is but she shreds. She's just really good. If you listen to the episode of the Celebration Rock podcast on, she's just she loves to play the guitar. She loves to shred some sweet chords, and that's really what this album is. It's that she is an unbelievable songwriter and an unbelievable guitar player, and every single one of these songs is an unreal, well-written, emotionally cathartic, big mood, and then it's combined with the fact that every song on this album has every single song has an interesting guitar part. There's something interesting going on with the guitars on every song on this record, whether it's a really nice lead riff or nice kind of atmospheric softer stuff, or whether it's more driving stuff on Pristine and Heatwave. And every song on this album is amazing. Drop Dead great, amazing. It paces so well from front to back where it just breezes by. You're oh, this great song is coming, then this one, then it feels like one of those albums that just you can play over and over and over and over again. And I could not be more happy with the fact that we decided to build up hype for this, because we were not let down even in the slightest. It's better than I thought it was going to be somehow.
Oh god.
Do you not feel that way?
I hate to pull out the knife, Jackson. I hate to pull out the knife while you're standing behind me, while I'm standing behind you. But I do really like this album. I really like this album. Do not fret.
Top 10 anime betrayals.
Top 10 this is cold.
Betrayals.
I have kept silent on my Snail Mail takes because I have to say, while I do really like this album, it is not quite as good as I wanted it to be, and I think it's because I did build up very high expectations that were almost impossible to achieve. I think, let's discuss the singles, Pristine and Heatwave, and let's find out. Holy shit, these songs are so fucking good. They're so goddamn good. And the songwriting and all this stuff is amazing on them. But when you put them in the context of the album, the album like I said, it's very good, but my problems with it is that sometimes it is a little samey. And that is obviously just because, like, hey, this is her first album, you know? Like, it's her first one. Well, she's only put out an EP at this point.
I did not have that issue at all on this. I thought there was enough things, like, Stick coming at the, like, so it starts with, like, an intro, and then really you've got the two big singles sandwiched with Speaking Terms, which is incredible. Really, 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 really good shit, IMO. And then Stick comes, and Stick is beautiful and cathartic in the same way that those singles are, but in a completely different kind of structured song, a different kind of song. That Stick was the song that, like, blew me away, where I was like, okay, this album isn't just gonna be like a couple of really good Snail Mail singles and samey stuff. Like, for me, Stick, and then I think Stick, and then immediately followed by Let's Find It Out, which I also love. I think it dips a tiny bit for Golden Dream and Full Control, but that is the only place that dips, and that's 2 songs. I think Deep Sea at Any Time, for me, is, like, such a strong close to this album, and really pulls me back in. And I mean, like, Golden Dream and Full Control are not, like, bad at all. They just, like, those ones are ones that don't have, like, an incredible musical or lyrical thing that jumps out to me from the only. I have not listened to this album enough to fully appreciate those songs, probably, but also, like, they haven't jumped out to me that much so far. But then, like, Deep Sea at Any Time is just, like, a crazy 1-2 punch to end an album. Like, okay, I love both those songs a lot.
Like, okay, here's the thing. This album, it's not that it's not, like, emotionally destructive to me, because it is still fairly emotionally destructive to me. Do not forget. But I will say that, yeah, I mentioned this, but yeah, the album, it does get a little samey at times, and that some of these songs kind of blend in a little too much to each other, where you're like, oh wait, this is a new song. Okay, all right. And it's like I said, I think no matter what, like, we can both agree, this album shows a shitload of potential. It's like, if this is what she's making at, like, 18, 19 years old, like, imagine, like, once she starts getting into her 20s, like, imagine, like, once she's, like, 3 or 4 albums deep into her career, and, like,
she is the #1 draft pick in the Indieheads draft. Like, she's pretty damn incredible already. Like, having a song as good as Pristine and having a song as good as Heatwave on one album is ludicrous.
Exactly.
Especially at any age, let alone. But and then I guess our mileage is varying on the rest of the album and certain songs. But, like, I love this album. I really, really love it a lot. I think she after the intro, she goes a solid 4 for 4 on, like, some of the best shit I have heard this year, period. And has 2 really good, a good penultimate track in Deep Sea, and then Anytime, which is a perfect closer for this. I'm all the way aboard the hype train. So I'm bummed because my prediction for this album was that it was going to be 2018's Lomelda.
I know. Well, here's the thing. 2018's Lomelda Thanks has already come out, and it's called Haley Hendrix, I Need to Start a Garden. All right, that's the album that's taking that place for me. But that's not to say that Lush is bad. Like, here's the thing. Lush is really good. I think it's a bit of a slow burn. I do think I do need to listen to it I need to listen to it more. And I want to keep listening to it more, because I do think that part of it, me, like, sort of, like, those, like, me saying, like, oh, it's kind of samey at times. I think it's just because me, like, zoning out a little bit because I'm doing something while I'm listening to this. So I have not listened.
Also, the other thing I would say is that it also, and I found that this was a little true for me, is that I played the fuck out of those singles, like, so much.
Exactly, and that's why it's so hard to dive in. That's definitely
coloring your listening. So, because, like, some of the songs you're just like, oh, I kind of get what's going on here, but then the other ones you know so well, so it feels kind of samey by contrast.
Yeah. So I will say, I think I need some separation before I can give, like, really clear, definitive thoughts. Like, I do need, like, an extra month or two, because, again, I did listen to those singles way too fucking much. So I will take some time, I think, and then I will kind of... I think I will have, like, once we do, like, more of our year-end podcasts, this will probably rank pretty high, honestly. I will think I will have more defined thoughts. But I will say, It's very good. There's a lot of good potential here. And Lindsey Jordan, how dare you? Like, just how fucking dare you? All right.
And we've talked in this podcast before about the deep emotional trauma Lindsey Jordan has already caused us.
And she will cause more
she is 18 and she
come.
is 18 and she is tiny and she is powerful and I am afraid of her.
I will present the theory that she is a witch, and I will leave it at that. But witches are cool, okay? And also, hey, she has the cosign from our deity Michelle Zauner. All right, like I watched.
That's all you need, baby.
I watched one of Michelle's drunk streams with Lindsay, and it was great fun.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was great fun. But yes, Lush in stores now. Matto Records, yes, baby. I inject this shit into my veins. But again,
you'll love to hear it.
But this one, oh boy. So we, I will say, at least personally, for myself, before we dive into this, the artist that we're going to talk about, I wanted to avoid talking about for a very long time, since news has happened. There's been an instant feeling of, I'm done. I need a breather from this dude. This is bad. Oh my god, he's so dumb. Of course, I'm talking about Kanye West, and we're going to discuss mainly Kids See Ghosts, but I imagine we'll dive into Yee, and we'll probably dive into Daytona a little bit too.
Yeah,
Yee!
You call it Yee?
Yee! Thumbnail for this episode has to be the Yee dinosaur.
Yes.
I declare it now.
Oh boy. But yes, we're discussing Kids See Ghosts, the collaborative album between Kid Cudi and Kanye West that came out last week. And I've only listened to this like 1.5 times, so this is mainly going to be AJ and Jackson duking it out. So
I think what it's going to be, it seems to me, as it's going to be AJ versus Jackson more than AJ.
Yeah, like I said,
it appears.
I literally said it's going to be you two duking it out. So while you two duke it out, yes. I'm going to go get a glass of water. So
stage has been set for a duel.
So you kids be good to each other. All right. Again, this is a clean fight. Again, no kicks to the nuts. No edged weapons are allowed in this arena. And most importantly, have fun. All right. So I'll be right back. Don't go too crazy. And you know what? Who wants to set the floor for this debate before I go get my glass of water?
Let's just talk about how messy the release of this entire project was.
Okay, we'll do a little background first before we get into the takes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far back we're gonna go. I was gonna start.
Okay.
I was gonna start at like the Thursday night where they had the album listening parties. That started, hours and hours late, and then the actual release of the album itself properly was delayed until 9 a.m. the next day. And
was this for Ye or
for Kids See Ghosts?
Yes.
Yeah, and then the track list was out of order, and as far as I can tell, has changed almost every time I listen to it, or at least some of the track listings on Spotify, which is where I listen to music, were wrong and just horribly miscredited, and so coming in was such a mess. And here's the thing about Kids See Ghosts, and honestly, I do have to eat a little bit of crow coming into this, just as I was a big doubter of Kanye's whole before anything else he said, hey, I've got a Pusha T album, a solo album, an album with me and Cudi, and then Nas's album. They're all going to be 7 songs. I'm going to roll them out in 4 consecutive weeks, and the first week is in less than 10 days. And I was bull fucking shit to all of those things.
The fact that he did it is, I mean, the quality is in such variance from maybe brilliant to definitely terrible that obviously we're oh god, I wish he would just take more time. But the fact that he finished any of these even within 24 hours of the release is truly mind-boggling. Because Life of Pablo was another week you're gonna wait or something
the state that Ye was in, withstanding comments, he did turn that album around in basically a week. That's my review of Ye, actually.
That is also my review of Ye.
He did apparently turn it around in a week. There was an interview with Charlemagne today where he was saying that he heard a completely different album when Kanye played it for him when they did their interview. Not a single idea or beat or vocal was the same on either of those projects, which is, if nothing else, impressive, I guess. I don't know, but the thing about Kids See Ghosts to me is that the entire idea of this project feels like it was built in like a vial or like a test tube called just like, how do we get hip hop heads to lose their collective shit? Because it's like got this weird, futuristic Japanese artwork. It's a collaborative album between Kanye West and Kid Cudi, and it's short, so it's kind of like served up for this immediate environment of music digestion and streaming, which is like, damn dog, this album is an 11 out of 10. It's so good. It's the best shit I've ever heard. I'm on the second track right now, but it's a fucking classic. Like, it's a banger and a half. Like, it is the like live chat equivalent of a musical output is kind of how I see just the sort of like the attitude surrounding this project. And I honestly don't even think that there's been enough time on any of these projects except maybe Daytona for like anyone to kind of sit and stir and have a nuanced take on them. Like, I'm kind of finally just now hammering out my thoughts on Ye, being that it's bad, it's disappointing, there's nothing interesting on it, it's completely uninspired, and like it's not even interesting to talk about Kanye's politics with regards to like the things he's bringing up about his mental health, because he's just kind of like pointing at things and saying, look at thing, and then doing nothing interesting with them, which is okay for him, but not interesting.
There's a version of Ye that is a complete disaster and a mess in a way that is deeply fascinating. I thought this album might be an album that's like not good, but deeply, and it wasn't even that. That was the thing about Ye.
A lot of people think Pablo is a bad, messy album that's completely disjointed and like with no consistent threads and like some very objective flaws.
Wrong, by the way.
I 100% agree with those people, but the thing I love about Pablo is how disjointed and all over the wall it is, and just like it is the thing that I think a lot of people are giving Ye credit for, being like a very vivid and dramatic like painting of Kanye West's psyche, even more so than My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which was built on poise and built on reputation and built on all of this like grandeur and like myths of exuberance and all of these like stereotypes of the rich and powerful, whereas Pablo is just like, sometimes I drive too fast and sometimes my wife tells me not to like make tweets that are angry and I have all of these feelings that I don't know what to do with, versus Ye, which is just like, I said really controversial shit because it makes me happy, which is just considering all of the things that he said. And like a conversation I've been having with a lot of people in my real life is like, why does Kanye have to like be a responsible political figure for you to enjoy his music? Which like the answer is, of course, he doesn't. I think like artists can do things that are morally reprehensible and doesn't necessarily have to affect your enjoyment of listening to that product outside of like them being an abusive piece of shit or just like a notorious abuser and all of that kind of stuff. Like someone just like having an opinion that's different than yours and expressing it isn't necessarily grounds to discount.
Even if that opinion on their platform is damaging, that's not that doesn't like that. It's obviously like the conversation about how do we like reckon these things is something that we're going to have for 10 years, and I don't think we're ever really going to have an answer to it. But we need to start like figuring out how to have these conversations, because it seems like every time we do, it's just like, well, we haven't figured anything out since the last time we've had this conversation, so let's just keep yelling at each other online.
All of my point was to just say that Ye, to me, is a bad album because it's Kanye at his most uninspired and Kanye at his most just kind of winging it and boring and not doing anything interesting. Whereas I will say that he certainly sounds more inspired, more creative, more energetic, more clearly like back on his bullshit on Kids See Ghost. It's just unfortunate to me that the bullshit he's back on is so violently unlistenable and displeasurable to my ears. Jackson, the floor is
yours. So here's the thing, and this is exactly the perfect time to unveil it. Kids See Ghost is the everything now of 2008.
It's absolutely not.
Let's let Jackson discuss this.
Let's run down the track list. Completely dog shit and botched album rollout in very different ways, but equally well received by the community of which they are a part of. Check. Large number of musical ideas that by all accounts just shouldn't work. Like some of the things that he does here are objectively like dumb and stupid. And one of the things that I really struggled with Ye originally was this kind of fear I had about whether Kanye's music at all would work for me, because a lot of Kanye's entire career and I think one of his greatest gifts is the ability to convince us that actually that was a good thing that he just did, using solely his force of personality. Like when he is able to rap about bleached assholes and you're like, you know what, that was kind of cool that you did that, Kanye. even when it's objectively bad. Like for literally since the college dropout days, there have been corny Kanye lyrics that he is able to sell with like his force of will and persona. And the thing I was worried about Ye was that maybe I can't enjoy Kanye anymore because like his antics no longer, I don't have the same kind of, he's managed to somehow like chip away at my like benefit of the doubt that I've been giving him for every year that I've been alive on this planet. And so, but it turns out actually Ye is just completely creatively bankrupt was the real problem, and that he made it in 2 weeks. Those are really the standard issues. For Kid See Ghost, like there are lots of songs on this album. I'm sure we will get into them. I would say my perfect example of how I feel about this whole album is Free with 4 E's, aka Ghost Town Part 2, which is a rap rock song with Kanye and Kid Cudi, of which the chorus goes, "I feel free."
Absolutely by far my least favorite part of the album, by the way.
And in the course of this metaphor, by the way, it is the chemistry of this album in that it is dog shit awful, and I cannot stop listening to it. I physically cannot stop listening to the song, and I jump around my room and I yell, "I feel free," and it is the most fun I have had all year, by far. And like truly, like this album, I think, and one of the things that helped this album a lot for me is that what Kanye has spent the last year doing everything he humanly can to undermine our like good faith we have in him, because Kanye wants to see how far he can push us to the edge and get us to still love him. It is true. I think it's what he's doing. Is he's like, how far can I poke them until they stop loving me? And it clearly is never for some people. It clearly is never. Like he's like Donald Trump. Like I could walk down the street and shoot someone and my fans would still defend me. Like he's drunk off of that power, and that's part of what inspires his antics, is that kind of knowing that he has embedded himself so deeply into the culture that even the people who can hate him can't really get him out. He's kind of here until he's not. Like that's basically what it is. But the thing about this album is that where I have very much less goodwill toward Kanye the human being now, as I did like 2 months ago, and have reevaluated my relationship with him as the person, I love Kid Cudi so much. And Kid Cudi, whether his music has ever been your thing or not, it has been for me at points in my life. And I truly, like, you can't not root for that kid. Like, he truly seems like he's had, like, a really, really difficult life. And he's had a lot of, like, difficult stuff come his way. And, like, to hear him as genuinely happy as he is on Kid See Ghost, to me was, like, truly one of the most uplifting parts of this album. And, like, this album, when Kid Cudi's kind of doing a lot of it is very general lyrically. I understand that. And I understand he's not exactly, neither of them are saying any... Like, even though Kanye manages to not say anything that's particularly, like, cheesy or cringe-inspiring on this album, he also, like, managed... Like, I think I tweeted this after I finished the album, but, like, the like, forehead wipe sweat that I did by the end of this when I realized Kanye hadn't said anything that was, like, a truly terrible lyric that made me real happy. I don't know. I get why people don't like this album. I'm not, like, militant about it. I understand that, like, Kanye doing a Big Shaq impression isn't going to be something that just everyone's like, oh yeah, this is clearly great. But I think it is truly one of the weirdest Kanye projects, and in a way that it just I was listening to it basically all week while I was on vacation, and I loved it the whole time. I think it's really great. That's my opinion.
So, I mean, some of the, like, a couple of problems I have with this album are that, like, while Kanye and Cudi certainly sound like they work well together and, like, play off of each other very well, like, the most interesting and enjoyable parts of the album like are not them to me. Obviously, you've got a great verse from Pusha T. As much as I think like "Free" is a terrible, terrible song, the Ty Dolla $ign part is not that bad. Sometimes gets stuck in my head, and like whoever is doing the Kids See Ghosts.
That's
part
a Most Def.
Yeah, that's
Most Def,
fantastic. Like that's another part that just like sometimes gets stuck in my head and makes me go like, oh, I should give this project another shot. But then I get just some of like the egregious vocal mixing and like experiments they try where there's like yelling and let's just fucking talk about the gra-da-da-da.
Yes, it's Kanye going full Big Shaq, which
it's just like it's one of the worst ideas I've ever heard executed on a song.
I kind of like it.
Like so much of this just sounds like like listening to this album feels like I'm locked in a room with Kanye West and Kid Cudi, and they're just like banging on shit and going like, look how good it is, look how fucking like interesting this is, look how creative I am. And while there is some merit in like seeing them having fun doing that, I just want to open the fucking door and go listen to Daytona again. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's just not an interesting. It's not an odyssey that I enjoy going on for however colorful and kaleidoscopic it is, and like certainly more interesting than Ye in that only a horrible failure can be interesting to watch play out. I will give this album that to its credit, and I don't know if my thoughts on it will change over time. I really don't know if I'll ever like go back to it to try to change my opinion on it, but just like the things that people point at in this album and go like, damn, I like that, I listen to and go, damn, I do not like that.
Okay, that's a pretty, and I can't really disagree with any points you're making. Like that is a very fair criticism to take issue with Kanye screaming gun sounds. But the thing is, with that part, so he comes in and you're like, excuse me, what is going on here? And then halfway through, those drums kick in harder, and those drums are incredible. The drums that they put under that beat just go insanely hard. And so what happens is I go every time I listen to it, I go from like being completely bewildered and just like excuse me to I'm not in my head, and by the end of it I am Big Shaq style skitty peep bop bop in the studio in a way that I like had zero time for Scoop-de-Doop, because Scoop-de-Doop is just Kanye being like, look what I can do, and people
it's literally him shitting into a mic and being like, you guys will eat this up. It's literally that like phrase turned into a song. He actually did it. The fucking madman. He literally shit into the mic.
Exactly.
And people ate it up.
As opposed to Feel Love, which feels like a genuine creative choice. Now, whether you think that creative choice works for you or not, it's a different question.
It doesn't. I have not had to change my thoughts on this album. But here's the thing with this album. I already don't like Kid Cudi, and this isn't just like, oh, he was better on Man Moon. This is just straight up. I just straight up do not like Kid Cudi.
Never.
Here's the thing.
You're not.
I have.
This album.
I have.
It
I
is a
have.
Kid Cudi album.
It's a Kid Cudi album. I have liked Kid Cudi songs, but he has never compelled me for a full album. And watching his deterioration over the years has been. It's terrible to say this, but it has been enjoyable to watch his deterioration up until like Speed and Bullets to Heaven, where it was like that is rock fucking bottom. And it's
pretty bad.
He's way back up. But this album again, like first listen, Feel the Love. It's Kid Cudi yelling into my ear, I could still feel the love, and it's like, oh my god, please, I just want it's that clip from Brooklyn Nine-Nine of Andy Samberg screaming with the acoustic guitar, playing it like badly tuned acoustic guitar. It will forever haunt Kid Cudi's career, because that is the perfect culmination of Kid Cudi's career to me. It's just this dude loudly moaning and humming, and it's like, oh my god, dude, like, do you remember when Kid Cudi sent 198 texts in a row to his baby mama? Does anyone remember that?
I don't remember that.
Anyways, I unfortunately forget almost everything that Kid Cudi does.
Luckily, but I don't. But Feel the Love. This is again. I hate it. You have that, and then you have Pusha T, who comes through with a really good verse. Like, hey, Pusha T. All right, maybe this song will be tolerable after all. And then it's Kanye again, it's Kanye doing a Scatman routine again, and it's like, oh my god. Here's the thing. I tolerated this man. Like, it's been discussed, but again, Father Stretch My Hands Part 1. Like, the highest high of Kanye's career. It's the highest high and the lowest lows. You know, in the same song, it's this masterful intro with this great sample with that Metro Boomin tag, and you're like, yes! And then he starts off talking about, I'm still mad, bleached assholes. What is... And then it's like this song, again, starts off with a very, like, solid production, and you have Kid Cudi, again, he's in this corner, he's yelling, feel the love, he's got that third Oasis album on blast in his headphones, because for some reason that's the one he really likes a lot, even though that's the one that everyone fucking hates. And you have Kanye West, who is, again, like, he is so drunk off his own ego, like, so drunk. Like, we thought, like, it's so funny how we thought, oh, he's done, you know, like, he had his ego death, he's okay, whatever, and then it's just like, nope, it's gotten worse.
The month where we were all convinced Kanye West had become a good person because he got kind of fat was truly a time I wish I could go back to. That was really fun when we were just all like, look at this absolute unit, and we all wanted to like hug him.
Oh yeah, he's doing a roll build on Dark Souls.
Exactly.
That's for the gamers.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of wrap up, I mean, like, there are moments on I do like, there are obviously problems. I think Kanye is not at his best lyrically, even if he's not at his worst, and also his breath control when he tries to rap real long on this album is not great. But besides that, like, I mean,
Kanye is bad at rapping now. Can we talk about that? Like,
okay, we need to discuss why.
Let's just say that.
Like, to actually get like serious for a second, like why I cannot get into this album and why I have not listened to Yee and why I just at this point like just do not want to. Why I do not listen to like any new Kanye stuff is that Kanye is just simply, he's no longer a compelling person to me.
He has not had a good verse in 2018. He has not rapped
he had some.
Well, it's not okay. AJ,
there's someone on this album that do work. Like, he has the line on Fourth Dimension, bought an alligator, I ain't talking Lacoste, and that's hard. Like, there are parts on this album where like he says good stuff still, but
he's got good lines and stuff, but he cannot ride, and like he's producing all of these beats. He cannot ride these beats that he is producing. Like, on none of these, especially on Daytona, his verse on that is just like sloppy, and you know, he has like lost proficiency. He's kind of like I'm going back into the gamer shit, but he's like pulling his like rapping stat and putting it somewhere else, which is just like fucking, I don't know, making cover art that is very eye-catching for ways you know.
So I think you're absolutely right with that, because like, as opposed to the last couple of albums where he was like doing the executive producer kind of thing and he wasn't making the beats, he has a limited amount of time, that as all humans do, and Kanye has decided that he needs to do everything instead of trying to do one thing good. And so when you add in, I'm gonna make all the beats for 4 albums, there's only so much time he has to write lyrics that are better than Scoop-de-Whoop.
It's not even the lyrics that bother me. Like, I can't overlook Kanye's.
There's also his like performance. Yeah,
it's his technical proficiency where he's breathy and he's just kind of off count and he's just like sounds like he's sitting down the entire time. Like, yo, Kanye, this album comes out in 15 minutes. Where are your verses? And he's like, hey, get out of here. The album's gonna come out.
I mean, I think, honestly, I think part of that is probably just he didn't do that many vocal takes for these, probably because he put this fucking album together in a week. Yeah. So like, he probably didn't do it enough times to get the take where he really nailed it. Like, he's not doing the verses over and over like Kendrick is in the studio. Like, it's just not happening.
Hey, do you guys remember that bit from that one Best of the Worst episode, the Christmas episode, where they're talking about the Santa Claus movie and how it seems like it was made in like a drunken bender in like 24 hours? That's what it feels like, this Kanye stuff. Again, it's all like, the thing with Kanye is that we think of him as this artist that he puts out these albums every couple of years and it feels like an event, you know, like Life of Pablo, that felt like an event. Yeezus, that felt like an event. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, that felt like an event. these albums, again, it's like him trying to recreate that event feeling, but it does not feel genuine at all. It just feels like he's trying to recreate this magic that just simply is not fucking there. And it's because, like, I was trying to say this before AJ was like, before you guys went off on your tangent again, so please let me say it one more time. Yes. Kanye West is no longer a compelling artist to me because I just, like, when he says that, like, when you say stuff like slavery is or I feel like slavery was a choice or some shit, or something along the lines of that, I just go, I don't care about you as a person. I don't care what you have to say artistically at this point. Like, you are a very important artist to me, but I have no problems dropping you, and I don't care to listen to any of your new stuff, or even any of your old stuff for the time being. Like, I just don't care anymore.
It's hard to hear someone say like, the other problem is that all Kanye West lyrics are about Kanye and always have been about Kanye, and that is trickier now when he's like, I shift the paradigm, and I'm like, oh, really, dude? Like, sure, yeah, you tweeting vague philosophy tweets.
This dude been watching way too many Jordan Peterson videos.
Yeah,
right?
somebody just, Kim, if you're listening, which I know you are, take away the password to Kanye's Reddit account, because that
and YouTube seems like it's really the danger zone.
Like, it's crazy how just, like, everything Kanye has said, we've been like as a joke, like, oh god, like, tomorrow Kanye's gonna tweet, hey, have y'all seen this Rick and Morty show? It's kind of funny. And then he fucking does it, and then we're like, oh, like, how long until Kanye watches Jordan Peterson? And then he fucking does it, and it's like, how long until Kanye just, like, takes a picture of him Googling, like, we live in a society, and he's like, this is a lot to think about. And then he fucking does it. It's just like, the man has always been crazy, but the man is now predictably kind of like, he's predictably unpredictable in a way that is just so disappointing, and it's such just like an embarrassing slide to see, on top of all of the, like, irresponsible, inappropriate, politically messed up shit he's been saying. Just like all of the things that used to be interesting about Kanye, i.e. being a good rapper, being like a funny dude who, like, says nice things and is wholesome and kind, are just all gone, and the music that he's putting out is uninspired and it's bad, and it's just like, I want nothing to do with any of this anymore. It's really upsetting to me personally, as someone who loved Pablo, which, like, had the messy parts of Kanye's personality, like, so deeply imbued into it, and that's why I love it. Like, it's a tragic record. It really is this, like, grand, sweeping, just, like, look at who the man is. And I always kind of I had a deep conspiracy theory that, like, yeah, this is probably going to be the last, like, proper Kanye West album. And honestly,
it really did feel like in some ways it was like you wanted to be optimistic about it, because look at all these new things Kanye is doing 20 years into his career. Yeah. But it was also like so much just came out of like the Pablo, where it kind of felt like this kind of like, here's the last of what I have. Although I don't think that's true though, because like for me, not like I am still going to care about Kanye, whether unfortunate. It's just like he's too big a part of my musical world, and I'm no done caping for him, and I'm done like trying to justify it, because it's just like not healthy to have a kind of relationship, especially that kind of a relationship with someone who is Kanye West, and is clearly not someone you really want to put your marbles on in terms of being a good or smart person. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of liked Indicud, so like my opinion on this album you should definitely take with a grain of salt. But I really do, like, I love Reborn, even though Reborn is just Man on the Moon 3 basically. But I love it, and it makes me cry thinking about the fact that Kid Cudi is doing better, and that he like six I think it was like 9 months ago, after whenever Passion and Pain Demon Slaying came out, he basically put out a letter on Facebook saying that, like, I'm taking a break from music for a little while. I'm going to into an inpatient mental health facility, I believe, and like was clearly like in a really rough spot. And he says at the end of the letter, like, I will come back reborn. And then to take that and then bring it back on the song, he made me get goddamn emotional. So whether or not this album works for you, which far be it from me to tell you that actually this is good. I'm not I don't even think I can go that far. But I like it. Whether it's good or not, I am not one. There is no difference between good and bad things, you idiot, you fucking moron.
Truly insightful.
I feel like, again, basically Kanye's evolution over the past couple of months, maybe year and a half, maybe 2 years, if we kind of go back to the whole, I thought Trump, whatever, let's go back to 2016 when, again, the mental breakdown, or really just starting with this year, it just feels like Kanye West, like, in just, like, January, he was just, like, watching, like, Fortnite videos on YouTube, and just went down the deep hole of YouTube recommendations, and it's just, like, oh God, what has happened?
It's not good, folks. But hey, that's what happens with the everything now of 2018. You're gonna get some good, you're gonna get some bad. It's gonna be tough to wrangle with.
Also, I think. Okay, can we discuss again? 7 tracks is not like. Okay, I was gonna say this about the Melody's Echo Chamber album. Like, that feels like a full fucking album because the songs are meaty, and none of these albums feel like albums. They just don't have enough meat packed into them.
He was so right about the idea of doing small albums. He just cut them a little too thin. The problem is if you do a 7-track album, it has to be a perfect silver bullet. It has to be Daytona, or else it's gonna feel underwhelming. Like, that's just what is happening. Like there's a reason why Psychopomp is a miracle. It's because packed into 23 minutes is the greatest album of all time.
If Kids See Ghosts was like a 20-song album and every song was like a minute, I feel like I might be a little more like intrigued by what's going on there. And yeah, like just some slight edits in the production and like some rearranging and stuff. But I that like is I don't know why he's so beholden to the 7 songs thing. Like, it's an interesting thing, but whatever.
If you had told me Kanye was gonna, like, if you'd gone back in time 2 years and be like, Kanye is gonna put out 4 albums in a month, and one of them's going to be a Pusha T album, and one of them's going to be a Nas album, one of them's going to be a Kanye album, and one of them is going to be a Kanye and Kid Cudi album, first of all, I would have told you are a liar. Second of all, I would have fainted. And third of all, I would be very disappointed with what the end result of those 4 albums is. But of all of them, I mean, Daytona is definitely the best by far. That's not a question. But I like Kids See Ghosts, and that's where we can end this conversation, because nothing good happens past this point.
We should probably just move on and talk about a completely uncontroversial and non-compromising for the music scene.
Yeah. This is going to be a much more simple and straightforward conversation about really just a guy who puts his head down and just makes good music. He's not really one for the press.
We joke, but this is actually what happened with this album in the rollout for this album.
Weirdly enough,
I'm just so mad to say it, but I really like the new Father John Misty album. God's favorite customer.
I could not feel that mood anymore. Like, I truly, it's been a while since I have been completely like frustrated with enjoying it. And really, this album, I think for me, forcibly untangled some of my hang-ups I have with Father John Misty, where like I was listening to this album and I was like rooting for it to fail, and I was like, what has Father John Misty really done that has inspired this kind of animus in me? Because I think many of us, myself certainly included, like just went way too hard in the other direction on the Father John Misty is bad actually train, because to be fair, he dropped a garbage album. It was really not good. But like after hearing this album, I think my biggest takeaway was, while I still have zero time for pure comedy, I can appreciate what he was trying to do on pure comedy more after hearing him like do it here but good.
Pure comedy was so like purposefully dense and enigmatic that like my first reaction to it was like, anger. I'm not really sure, there's a lot going on here, like I feel like I need to unpack it. And then like on subsequent listens, I just think like it's purposefully kind of like hard to unpack and walks you in so many circles. It's just like, who am I? What do I believe? What are these things? What do I value? Am I being serious or not? And like after a while, that can just get so grating and so irritating, which I think like if you're able to kind of like see the sincerity in pure comedy, there's a lot of like good songwriting in there. And there are also a lot of things I think that go on for way too long and like belabor kind of exhausted points way too far. So it is to God's favorite customer's advantage that it's about half the length of pure comedy, way more focused. God. And also,
there are songs.
Yeah, well,
there are songs on here. That's one big difference. I like albums with songs on them as opposed to albums that don't have songs on them.
Back to why Father John Misty kind of blew up in the first place was this just like unbridled sincerity and just like, yo, I'm going to be like sweet and saccharine and you're going to enjoy it. And I'm like, well, damn it, you know what? You're going to spin this yarn and I'm going to love it, which like he does on this song. And I think another thing about God's Favorite Customer that like really intrigues me is there's this kind of like layered actual narrative to it, which is fascinating in the same way that the new Arctic Monkeys album was kind of fascinating, where it's like, oh, we're this like lounge band on was the moon or Mars or whatever. I still don't like that album, but I like the idea of that album.
I also like the idea of that album more than that. But
this has album. Like this has like the real world story of like Father John Misty, the man, kind of like watching his life fall apart and like checking himself into this hotel and like dealing with all of these things. And the way he writes the songs, all of it sounds like it has this like supernatural, just kind of like weird fantasy to it. But it's all just like grounded in these genuine human relationships that he is actually very good at like writing, representing, and unpacking like in all of these songs. The way this album kind of unfolds over time and tells a story is much more in line with I Love You, Honey Bear than anything on Pure Comedy, but it still has a little bit of that like fun, edgy songwriting that like made the parts of Pure Comedy that I enjoyed enjoyable. So I don't think it's better than I Love You, Honey Bear, but I do think it's like a step, like it retroactively makes me like Pure Comedy a little bit more because I see like, okay, he's not just some like self-obsessed dipshit. Like maybe what he was going for on Pure Comedy didn't work entirely for me, but he's still the same guy who like writes these sweet songs and like does have a good perspective on these things and like can make really compelling lyrics and knows how to write a good pop ballad, basically. Songs like The Palace and God's Favorite Customer and Mr. Tillman.
And just dumb enough to try. Jesus Christ.
Please don't die.
Yeah. Just Dumb Enough to Try is the best Father John Misty song ever, in my opinion.
It's his best since it's his best definitely since I Love You, Honey Bear. And oh my god, I haven't got to discuss, but I really do love this album. And as you guys have been saying, I really hate that I love this album because I wanted to not like this album. It's Father John Misty. He has given me every reason in the world to not like him at this point. But damn it, Josh Tillman, you were going through a lot, man. I feel for you. But
it may not seem like it, but Father John Misty really going through a lot right now.
Exactly.
But actually, it do seem like it because God, he is hurting on some of these songs. This is easily definitely the most like emotionally wrought Father John Misty album. I think it really hits you in the emotions in a way that. But like I was talking about when I was angrily interrupting AJ, like there are songs in this album, and like I think the one thing that this album. First of all, it establishes a certain floor, which is there are going to be actual good songs that are of a consumable length and have really good musical ideas going on in them. And there are also going to be bars, because Father John Misty has bars. Last night I wrote a poem. Man, I must have been in the
poem zone. Fuck that. Every like a visceral reaction every time I hear that.
Every time I hear that, I cackle.
It works. It works. It works in the song because the entire song. Okay, AJ, shut up. The entire song is about like him basically being. It's heartbreaking because it's him being like, you know, oh, I'm this great songwriter. I can put these words together. But like when he talks about his wife, it's just so hard for him to kind of put the words together. He turns into like a bumbling idiot who says, "Man, I must have been in the poem zone because I wrote a poem." Like, yeah.
If Mark Oslick wrote that lyric, I would claim it as genius, but I just can't. Right now. I feel like this is the best shit I've ever heard in my life. I will plainly admit that is a me problem.
But to tie things back into the last album discussion, the difference in this album and then Kanye's recent work is that this is what happens when you have a wife who holds you accountable for being a piece of shit human being. Is that a take?
I think that's a take, but I would say it's not entirely unfair.
I would say here's the thing. Well, maybe I'm saying like maybe piece of shit human being is a little rough. Basically, just again holding you accountable for doing bad things, because we need to talk about the narrative of this album, which is that it's not really fully explained. You kind of have to try to pick apart the details from what he's given you because he is kind of vague. But it's like, okay, so he checked himself into a hotel for a couple weeks. Something bad happened with his wife, and the album is sort of him trying to repair his relationship with his wife, and him kind of going kind of mad, at this hotel. And that's why this album is actually really compelling to me, because it's like, there is much like I Love You, Honey Bear, there is like a narrative with this album. It is sort of in some ways the antithesis of I Love You, Honey Bear. It's sort of, hey, these are the problems that we've had in this relationship, and this is me sort of exposing myself a little bit of the bad person I've been, and just trying to repair myself and repair this relationship. As the album is actually just it's really nice being it's deeply personal and honest in a way that Father John Misty album hasn't quite been in some time. Really, pretty much, Pure Comedy was him. Pure Comedy is an album. It's both very deeply honest and very personal, and also him just showboating a little bit. Hey, look at me, I'm Father John Misty. I know words and stuff. I read 2 dictionaries before I made this album. Do you remember I read George Orwell's 1884, and I wrote this album after I finished it. After I finished reading 2 copies, both at the same time. And it's not pretentious, which is, I think, the big thing that I really like. Is it's not pretentious. There's no pretensions behind this album. Maybe maybe Mr. Tillman's the closest it gets to pretentious, but it works. Shut up. But I don't know what I'm saying. Also, Wise Blood is on this album, and she's great on it, and I really want a new Wise Blood album. There's a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts about this album, guys. All right?
It's good. It's real good, folks. Yeah, there's a lot of really great moments from this album. The Songwriter, I think, is a very, very, very simple song, but it is beautiful.
It's
and
brutal. It's also kind of brutal too.
It is very rough, but it is a really. This year is a double whammy for where in 1 month, Alex Turner was self-aware, and then Father John Misty was self-aware, and then Kanye really wasn't. Really, really wasn't. We're all over the place. We have no idea what to expect now from. Because Alex Turner being as self-aware as he was on that album, and the kind of here where Father John Misty is able to seemingly take a step back from Pure Comedy and be it seemed I now would appreciate with Pure Comedy, it was he was trying for something really noble, but it felt kind of the way that he was interacting with the music press, he had kind of gotten spinned around so many times in his own antics that he kind of shoved his head all the way up his ass and didn't really kind of step back to see what he's doing. And this sort of personal difficulty he's having in his relationship is forcing him to sort of reevaluate kind of, what am I doing? How am I doing it? How am I presenting myself? And he still has he's still Father John Misty. He's still saying Poem Zone and shit like that. It's not he's all of a sudden this serious songwriter. But I think I think it was Stephen Hayden on the Celebration Rock podcast said isn't it better to have this with as interesting as opposed to just something that's boring? It's Father John Misty is trying stuff, and he's doing really interesting things, and sometimes it sucks, because what's going to happen is you really try stuff, is sometimes it's going to suck. Not everyone can just perfectly experiment all the time. And I'm willing to give Father John Misty more of a benefit of a doubt after listening to this album and realizing that, god damn, he can write a good song really, really well. And he's, even though often a exhausting public figure, he is undoubtedly an interesting one, which is not what you feel on Pure Comedy. You feel like this is just a bunch of fluff that doesn't amount to anything interesting or significant. But that is not at all what God's Favorite Customer is.
Yeah. Also, I like when he gets into his falsetto a little bit. It's really nice and sweet. He's got a good falsetto.
He's a good singer.
Josh is real good. I want to see him live. I might go to Kansas City to go see him live.
And then here's the thing too: the Pure Comedy tour was really fantastic to see brought to life. Even though some of the songs I was just meh, I don't like this. This is bad. But I was it's good. It's fun.
I also really, really love Hang Out at the Gallows as an opener, and I've said this in the chat before and talked to Alex about it, but doesn't it kind of sound like a Radiohead song, a tiny bit?
Oh yeah,
It's a Father John Misty song, but it's got some real Radiohead dust sprinkled all over it.
Also, can we talk about the production of this album? The production of this album is fucking fantastic. Like,
It's great.
like again, Josh and Jonathan Rado have done some like they've done some. There's some really incredible stuff on here. Jonathan Rado has done
especially after pure comedy that had so many instrumentals. There were beautiful instrumentals on pure comedy, but a lot of them just felt so kind of flat and not and because they had to carry these incredibly long song weights. They like with Mark Kozlock albums. If you got a 12-minute long song, there's only so much you can do across 12 minutes. It's gonna be a certain thing across the length of it. But like on pure comedy, it kind of felt like listless in a way that they do not sound here. Like everything here sounds great, really good.
I think I mean Jonathan Rado, like he's kind of quietly become one of the best producers of this decade so far. Like he's had a hand in like some really great albums over the past couple of years. Like he co-produced Whitney's debut, which was great. He co-produced the Alex Cameron album last year, which was great. He's done work with the Lemon Twigs, obviously the work on this album and all the stuff he's done with Foxygen that sounds really fantastic. Like this guy is good. Jonathan Rado, this boy knows what he's doing. But anyways, yeah, the production of them is great. The songwriting's great. It just fixes everything that I had problems with on pure comedy. It's like, okay, like, oh, I didn't really like all these long songs, because I just feel like that's just the long songs do not highlight why I like Father John Misty. I like Father John Misty when he is working within pop song lanes, where he's working within the sort of the pop song structure. But, where it's bringing this really lush, incredible production with just great instrumentation and, again, really great vocals and a writing style that is very unique, Like, there's not really people who write lyrics like Father John Misty does. And there's also very, there's genuine emotion on this album that I didn't quite get across on pure comedy at times, where this is very, like, genuine and from the heart. And it's nice, and I actually also really like that he did, like, no press for this album, pretty much. It's just like, oh, hey, I got an album coming out, no interviews, nothing.
Oh, hey, also it leaked.
Oh, yeah, it leaked.
It leaked a long time early.
It leaked on, like, Apple Music, like, super early. I'm surprised they didn't just release it,
The day he announced it, it leaked.
It was, like, Bjork levels of, and also, I remember when that first leaked, I was like, boy, do I not want to listen to the leak of that album, and then cut to 1 month later when I'm in my car, like, crying my eyes out to just dumb enough to try blasting down the freeway. So, yeah, certainly it's been quite a wild month in terms of my opinions on Father John Misty, but I like this album a lot. I think it's really great.
All right, so
it'll be on my end of year list, for sure, like, toward the top.
So let's finally establish this. Friendship ended with Kanye West. Now Josh Tillman is my best friend.
Run and tell that.
I see no way with how this could ever backfire on us.
Nope, not at all. I mean, Father John Misty, he's a good boy. He's not going to do or say any dumb things ever. It's not like he's going to reactivate his Twitter and be like, dumbass.
His dumb things are a much more harmless kind of shenaniganry. But it's frustrating in its own way. So sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's. I mean, I've said my piece with this album.
That's a dang podcast, baby.
I think that's a dang podcast. There we go. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will be back once again with another episode sometime in the near future. I cannot tell you. We literally have no plans for a new episode. Honestly.
Fucking tomorrow.
We're gonna have an episode. Let's see what. Oh yeah, we'll probably have some sort of. We'll probably talk about the Sophie. We didn't get a chance to talk about the Sophie album, but we're waiting for the right people, like Lily and Dylan. Like Lily especially needs to be on that podcast about Sophie. Like I feel wrong talking about it without her.
Yeah, she's gonna go the hell off on that Sophie. I mean, it definitely is very exciting to talk about. I hope we do that soon as a podcast.
Yeah. So most likely we're just gonna probably we're going to probably, kind of chill out until Pitchfork. Pitchfork is where we'll kind of go crazy a little bit. So we'll probably take a little breather before then. We'll probably put out another podcast before we go to Pitchfork. But, so yeah,
there's not a lot of big releases coming up, I don't think.
Yeah, so don't expect a whole lot from us at this current moment. But hey, that doesn't mean that we're not going to provide some content. We will have a lot of content planned, definitely like next month, all right? Like we're going to be locked in an Airbnb together for a whole day, pretty much. Like, it's going to get popping, all right? But, yeah. that's I think we are good. Does anyone have any final words to end this
Fuck
part?
ice.
Fuck
Yeah.
ice. Abolish
those,
ice.
those are the final words.
Abolish
Indeed.
ice. I will definitely agree to that. All right. That's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and we will see y'all on the next one. Bye.